Good evening, and welcome to the Sleepy Dreamer, a quiet corner of the night where your thoughts can wander while your body remembers how to rest. Feel how those words arrive not only in your ears, but in your chest, in the slow weight of your breathing, in the way your shoulders begin to loosen as if someone has gently turned the volume of the day down low. You are here, now, with nothing to fix and nowhere to be but this soft moment. Notice the surface beneath you, how it rises to meet the shape of your body, how the pillow cradles your head, how the blanket settles around you like a very quiet tide. The room has its own hush, a kind of stillness that only appears when the day has finally released you. Perhaps there is a faint sound somewhere, the distant murmur of traffic, the low breath of a fan, the almost silence of a sleeping house. Whatever is here is enough. You do not have to change any of it. Just let your attention rest, the way your body rests, on simple things, the curve of your spine, the softness beneath your hands, the gentle rhythm of air entering cool and leaving warm if your eyes are open. The room lies in dim shapes and lines. If your eyes are closed, the room still exists for you, but in a different way. You sense the distance to the ceiling without seeing it. You know where the wall is, where the doorway is, where the window waits. Even without looking, already you are living inside a quiet illusion, a seamless picture of the space around you that your mind holds together like a careful, loving hand. Tonight we drift into that illusion, not to break it, not to doubt it, but to see how softly it is woven. You do not look out at the world the way a camera does. You move through a world. Your brain is always painting, refreshing the colors, smoothing the edges, filling in the gaps. Reality, for you, begins not with certainty, but with sensation. Tiny touches of light, small movements of air, delicate tastes, whispers of scent, the steady pull of gravity, all arriving together like threads waiting to be woven into a cloth. There may be a little glow somewhere, a small gap under a door, a blinking light on a device, the faint shine that filters through curtains from the street. Light is not brightness itself. It is a wave, or a stream of particles, depending on how you look. It travels through space at a speed so great it could circle the earth more than 7 times in a single second. But when it reaches you, it becomes something else. It becomes vision. Waves of electromagnetic energy of many different lengths wash past you all the time. Some are very long, some are very short. Your eyes can sense only a narrow band of them, a small river between longer radio waves and shorter ultraviolet light within. That river lie the colors you know. Reds with their slower waves. Blues and violets with their faster ones. Your eyes receive this thin portion of the spectrum, and your brain turns it into worlds. A tiny cluster of light-sensitive cells waits at the back of each eye, deep inside the dark hollow of the skull. When a photon, a single particle of light, touches a molecule there, a quiet change begins. It is so slight you will never feel it. Yet that small change triggers a chain of reactions, a cascade of signals that travels along the optic nerve, away from light, into the brain's shaded interior. There, in that darkness, your brain assembles an image, not a direct picture of what is outside, but a careful construction from hints. Edges are detected, contours are joined, shades are compared. Movement is tracked. All of this happens in a fraction of a heartbeat. While you simply feel that you see the room. What you see is not the raw light. What you see is your brain's answer to a question. What is most likely out there? Given these signals, given your past experience, given what usually happens in a room like this, your brain is very good at this. It has practiced since you were small, when you were a baby. The world was a blur of color and shape. You learned faces, hands, walls, ceilings. By slowly refining these guesses, now they are so practiced they feel like truth. Look, if your eyes are open at one simple object, or imagine one if your eyes are closed. A doorknob, the outline of a chair, the corner where the ceiling meets the wall. Your brain tells you this is solid, stable, the same from one moment to the next. Yet the signals arriving from your eyes are always changing. Tiny movements of your head, of your eyes, of the light itself. Shift those signals. Your brain smooths those changes so you see continuity. It edits reality so you can move easily. There is even a small place in your vision where you cannot see anything at all, where the nerve fibers leave the back of the eye. There are no light-sensitive cells there. It is a blind spot, but you never notice a dark hole in your sight. Your brain quietly fills it in. It looks at what surrounds that gap and simply continues it. Lines extend, colors repeat. Patterns are completed. The world appears whole. You do not see the completion happen. You see the result, a single, unbroken room. In this way, your reality is already softened, airbrushed by the mind, made smooth where it might have been patchy. And yet this is not a deception meant to harm. It is a kindness, an efficiency. If you had to track every missing detail, every hole, every flicker, you would be exhausted. So your brain does this work for you. It hands you a world that is easy to understand. Take a slow breath in now. And as you breathe out, notice how the sound of the air blends into the sounds around you. Sound like light begins outside of you in a simple, physical way. The air vibrates. Pressure rises and falls when someone speaks. Their vocal cords make the air tremble in tiny waves. When a car passes outside, its tires press patterns into the road that travel through the air all the way to your ears. Inside your ears, small structures respond. The eardrum moves back and forth. 3 tiny bones, the smallest in your body, pass the motion inward. Inside the curled spiral of the cochlea, fluid ripples and delicate hair cells bend. Different parts of this spiral respond to different pitches. High sounds stir hair cells near the entrance. Lower sounds reach further in. When a hair cell bends, it opens little doors in its surface. Charged particles move. An electrical signal begins, just as with light. That signal travels inward to the brain by itself. It is just a pattern of activity, but to you, it is a whisper. It is a piece of music. It is the sigh of the night. The brain maps these vibrations to meaning. It says, "This pattern belongs to the voice of someone I love. This pattern belongs to the creak that comes from the house settling. This quiet noise is the soft breath of a pet sleeping nearby." The physical world offers simple changes in pressure. The mind gives them texture, emotion, memory. A single note can make your chest feel warm. A certain rhythm can make your eyes grow heavy. The illusion is not that sounds exist. The illusion is that what you hear is the whole story, that the way you experience those sounds is the only way they can be. Some animals hear much higher frequencies than you. Some feel vibrations through the ground more than through the air. Their reality is tuned differently. Yours is tuned to the range most useful for a human life. Now notice touch, the gentle pressure where your body meets the bed, the way your clothes lie against your skin, the slight coolness or warmth in the air that brushes your face when you breathe. Your skin is full of tiny sensors. Some respond to light pressure, some respond to deeper pressure, some respond to temperature, some to vibrations or stretch. They send signals inward, up the nerves that run like quiet highways to the spinal cord, then to the brain. Yet what you feel is not a list of signals. You feel soft, you feel heavy, you feel comfortable, you feel held. The mind translates and blends and simplifies. It creates a continuous sensation that you can relax into. Close your attention in on your chest just for a moment. Feel how it rises and falls. Muscles move without you needing to direct them. Your lungs expand, air enters. Oxygen slips into your blood through thin membranes, crossing from air into liquid, from outside into inside. Your heart pushes that oxygen-rich blood throughout your body. Cells use it gently, turning it into energy. None of this feels to you like chemical reactions and diffusion. It feels like aliveness. It feels like being here, in this particular body, at this particular time. The illusion is not that the body is unreal. The illusion is that your experience of the body is the most direct form of reality. In truth, it is a high-level summary, a carefully curated report, edited for clarity and comfort. You do not feel each individual air molecule hitting your skin. You feel a breeze. You do not feel each cell in your muscles contracting. You feel a stretch, a sigh, a release. The brain filters, compresses, interprets. It gives you what you need to move and rest and love and sleep. It leaves out what would overwhelm you. As you lie here, you can begin to sense how much kindness there is in this arrangement. You do not have to be aware of every detail to be safe. You can allow entire layers of reality to remain quiet, distant, unknown, and still be perfectly held by the thin slice that appears to you as your world. Think of all the forms of energy passing through your room that you cannot sense. Radio waves carrying voices and messages, Wi-Fi signals, moving information in patterns of ones and zeros, infrared light rising from warm objects, ultraviolet from distant stars. Your body is bathed in these, yet your conscious mind is untouched by them. They do not exist for you until a device translates them, until a screen lights up, until a speaker vibrates. Only then do they join your illusion. Only then do they become part of the world you experience. The brain is selective. It chooses what to translate and what to ignore. It learned those choices over deep time, through the long story of life. Sensing temperature clearly is useful. Sensing radio waves directly was never necessary, so we do not. Reality, then, is bigger than what you experience, and what you experience is richer than the raw data that reaches your senses. Between the outer world and your inner world, there is a wide, quiet space filled by the work of the brain. It predicts, it fills in, it smooths, it colors, it calms. You could imagine this process as fog rolling in over a shoreline beneath it. There are sharp rocks, intricate shells, grains of sand, each one unique, but from above, the fog makes everything soft and continuous. It is not that the rocks have vanished, it is that your view has become more gentle. Your perception works in a similar way. Without your noticing, it turns sharp edges into a landscape you can travel through without pain. It turns jagged details into gentle hills. Inside that fog, you live your life. You reach for a glass. You walk through a doorway. You recognize a friend's smile. You lie down at the end of the day and feel that the room is the same room it was yesterday. You trust this continuity. You rely on it. Even now, as you listen, your brain is using your history of rooms and beds and quiet voices to predict what should come next. It expects the mattress to stay solid. It expects the walls to remain where they are. It expects this voice to continue in a slow, soothing way. Your experience has momentum, and yet, if we slow down even more, if we allow attention to hover at the edges, we can begin to see tiny seams in this fabric, little places where things do not quite match, moments where your brain chooses one interpretation among many and then forgets that it made a choice. Have you ever misheard a word, only to realize later that your brain had filled in what it thought should be there? Have you ever seen a shadow in the corner and felt, for a heartbeat, that it was a person, before the image snapped back into being just a coat or a chair? These are small reminders that your reality is a collaboration, signals from outside, expectations from inside. For a moment, your mind chooses a path, and the world appears along that path as you rest in this dim room. You are safe enough to notice these things without fear. You can watch your own experience the way you might watch gentle waves on a dark lake. They rise, they fall, they shift, they soften. You can remember that even when you close your eyes, the world as you know it does not end. It continues, but in a different form. The scene outside your home, the street, the sky, the buildings, all persist, yet you are not seeing them. You carry a simplified sketch of them inside you, a memory map, enough to feel oriented, enough to feel that the world is still there. This is another illusion. You rest inside, the feeling that reality is continuous and always available. In truth, your awareness touches only a tiny part of it at any moment, then moves on. Right now, as the weight of the day begins to drain from your limbs, as your breathing evens out, as the hush of the room grows deeper, you stand at a threshold. On one side is the bright illusion of waking reality, with all its details. On the other side is the softer illusion of dreams, where the same brain will build worlds from different signals, from memory and imagination, instead of from light and sound. Between these two is a thin, shimmering line where certainty fades. You are close to that line now. You can feel how the edges of the room blur, not in your sight, but in your sense of how important they are. The bed becomes the main fact. The breath becomes the main motion. The story of the outside, of the day, of the world, drifts backward. And here, in this gentle place, you might realize that reality, as you know it, does not begin with what is solid and sure, but with the mind that is always kindly turning faint signals into something you can call home. And as you hover here, you can play gently with this idea, without needing firm answers. Imagine the signals themselves, tiny and simple, like grains of sand. Light arrives as a grain. Sound arrives as a grain. Touch arrives as a grain. On their own, they are small, almost nothing at all. But gathered together by your brain, they become beaches and deserts and shorelines, whole landscapes of experience stretching in every direction. You might imagine walking along one of those inner shores now, the sand beneath. Your feet is made of all the moments your senses have ever carried to you. The smell of rain on a warm road, the sound of a kettle late at night, the feel of a friend's hand on your shoulder, reassuring and calm. All of them grains in the vast field of what you call your life. Above that shore hangs a sky, also painted by the mind, stars that you have seen in photographs, constellations you have traced with a finger through glass, clouds remembered from afternoons that have already slipped away. Even when you are inside, in the dark, that sky lives within you as a quiet knowing that the universe continues, wide and patient, beyond the ceiling. Your senses have never touched every part of that universe, yet your brain lets you feel related to it, as if your small room is gently threaded to the distant stars. This, too, is part of the illusion, not a lie, but a bridge, a way for a limited creature in a single room, on a single planet, to feel some kinship with almost infinite space. Even the thought you are having right now, the way you picture this shore and this sky, is made from signals your brain has collected over years. Books you have seen, images, stories, real landscapes, and imagined ones, drifting together until they become one soft scene. In this way, the illusion of reality is not only about what is happening now, it is about everything that has ever reached you, combining, overlapping, gently confusing itself. And as your breath deepens, as your eyelids grow heavier, as your body sinks another small degree into the surface that holds it, you may feel less interested in where exactly the boundary lies between the world outside and the world within, and more interested in the simple comfort of knowing that wherever that boundary is, your mind will keep on weaving these signals into a gentle, livable dream. And from that gentle weaving of signals into a livable dream, another layer of mystery begins to glow, as if the mind itself is lifting a brush and touching color to an invisible canvas. You are still lying here. The mattress still holds you. The air still moves in that small, patient river in and out of your lungs. From the outside, almost nothing has changed. The room is the same room. The night is the same night, but inside, quietly, the way you experience that room, that night can shift like light moving through a window, subtle and steady. You have already seen how your senses offer clues and how your brain finishes the picture. Now we drift closer to the artist itself, to the painter, to the interpreter that lives behind your eyes and beneath your thoughts. Let your attention float to the space behind your forehead. You do not have to feel anything specific there. Just imagine, very softly, that within your skull there is a dark, warm landscape, folded and rippled, full of silent activity. In that landscape live your neurons, tiny cells, many billions of them, each one a small, living thread of electricity and chemistry. Each neuron listens to others. Each neuron speaks to others. They do this with brief pulses, little spikes of voltage that rise and fall in thousandths of a second. You never hear these pulses. You never feel the sparks. You are the pattern that emerges when all of them fire together, like a vast city seen from far above at night. From up there, you do not see individual wires. You see the glow. Your mind is that glow. When you open your eyes in the morning, light rushes in. Signals burst along the nerves from your eyes to your brain. But what you experience is not the raw rush. You experience a room, objects, depth, color between. The signal and the experience lies interpretation. Your brain is not a passive receiver. It is an active guesser. It takes what arrives and asks, again and again, what is the most useful story here? Think of a corridor you know well, perhaps in your home, perhaps in a place from childhood. If you were to walk down that corridor in deep twilight, you would still know where the walls are, where the doors open, where the small turns and familiar scuffs in the floor appear. Your eyes would be working with very little light. The signals would be faint, grainy, noisy. Yet the world would still feel solid. Why? Because your brain fills in. It uses memory to support vision. It uses expectation to supplement sensation. Neurons in your visual cortex, the part of the brain that handles sight, respond not just to what comes in, but to what they predict will come in next. If you have walked that corridor 100 times, your brain has learned its shape. It anticipates it. It paints it in before the signal fully arrives. You experience this as smoothness, as continuity, as reality. Now, imagine standing in a completely unfamiliar corridor, dimly lit, with strange angles and unexpected turns. Here, your brain cannot rely so much on previous models. It must work harder. Your senses feel sharper, more alert. You notice more. Reality feels slightly different, a bit more raw. This difference is not in the world alone. It is in the balance between sensation and interpretation, between raw data and the story your brain tells about that data. As you breathe here in your bed, you are in a space that is deeply familiar. Your brain can lean on its models. It can relax its effort. The painted world becomes very smooth. That is part of why this moment feels so peaceful. The mind does not have to update its map very much. It can glide inside that gliding. You can see glimpses of how reality is assembled for you. Picture, in your imagination, a single neuron, a tiny cell with a bulbous center and many thin branches. Some branches receive signals. Some send them on. When this neuron receives enough input from its neighbors, it fires a spike of electricity down its length. That spike reaches the far branches, where chemicals are released into the tiny gaps between cells. On the other side of that gap, another neuron responds, or many neurons respond. And so the pattern spreads. You, as a whole person, do not feel these individual events. You feel the large-scale pattern they create. When certain patterns ignite in parts of your brain, you see a face. When other patterns ripple, you smell coffee, or you recall the sea, or you feel an old ache in your chest when you think of something you lost. Each of these experiences is not stored as a single, neat file. They are emergent, rising from the way many neurons fire together in rhythm. The mind's painted world, then, is built from pulses and chemicals, but it feels like softness, like color, like meaning. Your brain takes the simple language of spikes and turns it into the rich language of "this is my life." Consider how you see a simple object, like a cup. Light reflects off the cup. Different wavelengths bounce from its surface. Your eyes catch those wavelengths. Signals travel inward in your visual cortex. Different groups of neurons respond to different features of the cup. Some respond to edges, some to angles, some to motion, some to color. None of these neurons knows cup. They only know lines, distances, hues, further along in higher regions. Other neurons begin to combine this information. Here is a rounded edge. Here is a vertical shape. Here is a consistent color. Here is a familiarity. Somewhere in that network, a certain pattern lights up that has lit up many times before. That pattern is associated through experience with hands holding, with drinking, with mornings, with comfort. Your brain does not present you with all the intermediate steps. It simply lets you feel cup. You do not think. Here is a cylindrical container used for liquids. You think, my cup. One word, one feeling, one recognition. Covering layers of processing. This is perception as interpretation. The same applies to more complex things. A face is a collection of shapes and distances. Yet you see, in a fraction of a second, not just a face, but a mood, a person, a history. Your brain specializes in this because it matters deeply to your survival and your belonging. There are areas in your temporal lobe that respond strongly to faces. If those areas are damaged, people can still see eyes, noses, mouths, but struggle to recognize who they belong to. The illusion of reality includes the illusion that recognition is automatic. In truth, it is the result of a carefully trained inner artist who has learned to paint familiarity out of features. Now let your attention drift to sound again, but in a slightly different way. Think of a word someone spoke to you today. Perhaps your name. Perhaps a simple greeting at the physical level. That word was a pattern of air pressure changes. Your ear broke that pattern into frequencies. Neurons fired in response, yet your mind did something more. It segmented the stream of sound into pieces. Consonants, vowels, syllables. It matched that pattern to many patterns heard before. This match lit up associated networks, memories tied to your name, feelings about the person who spoke it. By the time you consciously heard the word, it carried tone and history. If it was spoken kindly, your body relaxed a little. If it was sharp, your muscles might have tensed. The air does not know kindness or sharpness. It only knows vibration. Your brain paints emotion onto that vibration, using past experience as pigment. Even silence can be interpreted. A pause after a sentence can feel heavy or gentle. A quiet room can feel safe or eerie. The same absence of sound, painted differently by your mind as you lie here. Your brain is painting something softer. It senses the quiet and, supported by the safety of this moment, interprets it as calm. This is not guaranteed by the outside world. It is a creative act. Now, very gently, consider how illusions demonstrate this painting process. There are famous images where a drawing can be seen as a vase or as two faces, depending on how you look. Same lines, same shapes, different interpretations. Your brain flips between them, uncertain which story to commit to in those moments. You can feel how reality is not just received, but chosen. Another illusion shows lines that are actually equal in length, but appear different because of the context in which they sit. Adjusts judges and sometimes misjudges. It uses shortcuts, heuristics, to make rapid decisions. Most of the time, these shortcuts serve you well. Sometimes they reveal themselves as illusions, even when you are not looking at drawings. These shortcuts are at work when you cross a street. You judge the distance and speed of cars quickly without calculating. Your brain leans on its learned models of motion and depth. Reality, then, is like a guess that keeps proving itself correct enough to be trusted. Not perfect, but practical. As you float in the half-dark of this moment, you can appreciate the kindness of this system. You do not need perfect truth to rest. You need a world that holds together gently, that lets your nervous system relax its guard. Your brain also anticipates. If someone throws a ball toward you, you reach out your hand, not to where the ball is, but to where it will be a fraction of a second later. Neurons in parts of your visual and motor systems are tuned to motion. They track direction and speed. They predict future positions. This prediction happens without conscious effort. From your perspective, you simply see the ball moving and catch it. But under the surface, little circuits are running quiet simulations. The same is true for many other things. When someone begins a familiar phrase, your mind almost knows how it will end. You feel the last words forming in your chest even before they are spoken. When you walk through your home at night, you predict where furniture will be. If something has moved, you feel a brief flash of surprise. Then your model updates. We are prediction machines, smoothing the world so that change arrives with less shock. You are, right now, predicting the continued softness of this voice, the continued presence of your bed, the continued peace of this room. The fact that these predictions are being met allows your body to relax more deeply. If the room were full of sudden, unexpected sounds, your nervous system would stay alert. But the waves here are slow, gentle, and so your vigilance can lower. Inside this lowering, curiosity can remain awake, but in a lazy, drifting way. You can wonder without needing to grip the answers. Consider for a moment how much of your reality is assembled from the inside out. When you close your eyes and think of someone you love, their face appears in your mind, even though no light is reaching your eyes. Neurons that once fired together when you saw them in person can fire again in their absence. And the pattern feels like presence. Your brain paints their image in the dark, using memory instead of photons. When you remember a place, a street, a room, a landscape, you may not see every detail, but certain parts come forward. A specific color, a certain angle of light, the sound of leaves, the feeling of the air there, warm or cool. You are not replaying a perfect recording. You are reconstructing. Neuroscience suggests that each time you recall a memory, it becomes briefly flexible, then is stored again, perhaps slightly altered. The past is repainted softly. Every time you visit it, you still hold on to a sense of continuity. You say, I remember, yet those memories are living, not fixed. They breathe, they blur. In this way, your entire life story is something like a mural that has been touched up again and again. Colors added, lines softened, new shadows brushed over old shapes. It still feels like one picture, but it is always in motion. Reality, for you, is not only what happens, It is also what you remember and how you remember it as you breathe out slowly. Feel the way this idea sits in your chest, not heavy, not demanding, just the quiet wonder that even your own past is a kind of painting, renewed each time you gaze at it. The same interpretive power touches your emotions. A sound in the night could be neutral to one person, frightening to another, soothing to a third, perhaps. A train in the distance reminds someone of childhood trips and makes them feel safe. Perhaps it reminds someone else of leaving home and makes the heart tighten. The vibration is the same. The interpretation differs. Your brain overlays emotion onto the neutral patterns of energy arriving from the world. Even your body sensations can be painted in different tones. A quickened heartbeat after climbing stairs can be interpreted as simple exertion. The same quickened heartbeat before a conversation might be interpreted as anxiety. The signal is similar, the story changes. The painted world shifts. Even though the canvas of the body remains the same right now. As you listen, your heart may have slowed a little. Your muscles may be less tense. You can allow your brain to interpret these signals as safety, as permission, as a quiet message that it is all right to drift in the absence of any demand. Your mind can choose softer meanings. It can say, this stillness is not emptiness, it is rest. This low light is not danger, it is shelter. This voice is not a command, it is company, perception, interpretation, emotion. They all fold into one another, like layers of thin fabric stacked until they feel like a single, comforting blanket. Take a moment to sense how far this painted world extends. It includes the room, the remembered streets outside, the sky you know is there, the friends and loved ones who are not with you right now, but still exist vividly in your mind. It includes your image of yourself, your sense of who you are, your strengths, your fears, your hopes. All of these are mental models. They are useful. They help you navigate, but they are not fixed. They can change slowly, like the shifting colors of evening as you age, as you learn, as you rest. The paintings inside you can be repainted. You can learn to see new possibilities where before you saw only walls. You can learn to feel gentleness where before you felt only pressure. Even now, lying here, listening to this slow unfolding, you are forming a new picture of what reality might mean. A picture where the rigid boundary between out there and in here softens, where the world is something you participate in creating, moment by moment, with your senses and your interpretations and your history. This participation is not a burden, it is a kind of quiet artistry. You are the one experiencing, unique in all of time. No one else has your exact brain, your exact memories, your exact combination of sensations and dreams. So the version of reality you inhabit has never existed before, and will never exist again in quite the same way. This uniqueness can feel overwhelming in the bright light of day. At night, held by darkness and by rest, it can feel like a soft privilege. You are one small point where the universe is looking at itself, feeling itself, interpreting itself. You are an island of awareness where energy, matter, and history come together and become I. And as your eyes grow heavier, that eye can relax, it can loosen its grip. It can allow the painted world to dissolve at the edges. The mind that has spent the day interpreting, labeling, predicting, can release its hold on clear shapes and let them blur, like a watercolor that has been rained on. Lines run into one another, colors mix, forms fade, and what remains is mood, tone, feeling, more than fact. You might already sense this happening. Thoughts come, but they are less sharp. Images rise, but they are softer. The boundary between what you are really seeing and what you are imagining begins to thin. The same brain that paints waking reality will soon paint dreams. In dreams, sensory signals are quieter. Interpretation becomes more free. The artist in your head creates entire worlds without needing light or sound at all. It uses memory, hope, fear, and random associations like pigments. It rearranges time, merges places, bends physics. Yet, when you are inside a dream, it feels real for as long as it lasts. This shows, more than anything, how powerful the painter is. Reality is what the brain can make coherent enough for you to inhabit. Whether the signals come from the world or from within, as you continue to sink into the mattress. As your breath moves like a slow wave, as your body temperature subtly shifts toward sleep, you are approaching the place where those inner worlds begin to form. They will be another layer of illusion, born of the same neurons, the same quiet city of light inside your skull. And just as in waking life, those dreams will be meaningful to you, precisely because your mind will interpret them, will give them story and emotion, will turn encounters with fragments of memory into experiences that feel full and whole. There is a horizon up ahead, one you may not notice crossing, where the painted world of wakefulness yields to the painted world of dreaming. You do not need to hurry toward it. It will come to you. All you need to do is allow the painter to work with less demand, less instruction, less need for sharp edges. The same brain that today interpreted emails and faces and traffic lights is now slowly turning toward stars and symbols and quiet inner oceans. The same neurons, the same pulses, spinning a different story. And as that horizon comes closer, you might feel a gentle comfort in knowing that the world you experience has always been, in some sense, a masterpiece in progress, laid down stroke by stroke in the dark. A mind-made landscape that stretches from the simple pressure of the pillow beneath your cheek all the way to the softly shifting horizon of thought that waits just beyond your closing eyes, like a dream already beginning to be named. And as that softly shifting horizon breathes out its last glow, the air around your thoughts begins to feel different, almost as if something deeper, smaller, more mysterious has begun to shimmer beneath everything you know. Not louder, not brighter, just quieter in a different way. Like the hush beneath a hush, you're still resting in the same position, still held by the mattress, still wrapped in the warmth and dimness of your room. But something inside your awareness is tilting, slowly, like a curtain catching a faint breeze. There is a sense that beneath all the colors your mind paints, beneath all the shapes it interprets, beneath the familiar world you see and touch and trust, there is another layer. A layer that is smaller than sight, smaller than sound, so small it slips through your fingers even when you try to imagine it. And yet it is always here, around you, within you, making up everything you know, You do not feel it directly, not the way you feel the blanket, not the way you feel your breath, but this smallest layer of reality hums through you every moment of your life. Let your next inhale be slower, deeper, like you're drawing in a little of that hum without trying. Let your exhale sink your body a little more into the softness beneath it. That tiny hum is what we drift toward now, not through effort, but through curiosity loosening into wonder. Imagine the quiet space around you shrinking, not physically, but conceptually. The room fading into a softer blur, the walls melting into a sense of spaciousness, and then that space shrinking further until the shapes around you dissolve into particles, like floating dust illuminated by a single beam of light. Those specks, those imagined grains, are not yet atoms. They are the idea of something small enough to tremble, small enough to slip between certainty and possibility. Quantum reality begins in that trembling, in that uncertainty, in the idea that, at the smallest scale, things behave less like objects and more like questions. Let your awareness drift with that thought, lightly, like a leaf drifting on still water. The atoms in your body, in your bones, in your skin, in your breath, are mostly empty space. But even that seems enormous compared to what lies deeper inside each atom. Electrons do not orbit like planets. They exist as shimmering clouds of possibility, fuzzy regions where they might be, but are not guaranteed to be. You cannot point to a precise location and say, "The electron is here." You can only speak of where it might be found. Reality, at this scale, is not a single point. It is a smear of possibilities, like light brushed across water at dusk. Feel how that idea rests in your mind. Not heavy, not confusing, just soft. A gentle truth whispered from a scale too small to disturb you. If you imagine holding a small particle in your hand, though you cannot, it would not have a fixed shape or position until you tried to look at it. The act of looking would make it choose. Observation becomes participation, no longer separate from what is seen, like a dream that shifts depending on how you think about it. Let that image settle, a particle shimmering between possibilities, not as a trick, not as a riddle, but as its natural way of being. This is called superposition, the idea that a particle can exist in more than one possible state at once. A true scientific idea, yet dreamlike in its tenderness, a particle resting in several possibilities. Like a thought, before you decide what it means, you know the feeling. A memory drifting at the edge of recall. A decision forming inside you before you commit to it. A sensation that could be warmth, or emotion, or both. Reality at the quantum scale behaves as if it, too, hesitates, as if it waits for context, as if it needs relationship, interaction, the presence of attention, to choose a single form, not because it is alive, but because this is how nature works when no one is watching. Even the tiniest beam of light, a photon, carries this duality. Sometimes it acts like a particle, sometimes it behaves like a wave. It can pass through two slits at once, creating patterns, as if it split into many versions of itself, until you try to measure it. The moment you observe it, the wave of possibilities collapses. A single outcome is chosen. The shimmering sea becomes a single drop. It is as if the universe prefers to remain in a state of open potential until it is gently asked to choose. You can imagine this not as something chaotic or strange, but as something delicate, a softness at the heart of reality, a place where certainty has not yet hardened. Breathe into that softness. Let your ribcage rise like a quiet tide. Let it fall like a wave, smoothing itself over sand. Even now, particles within you, within the atoms of your bones, your blood, your breath, behave with this same shimmering openness. They are not rigid. They are not fixed. They are probabilistic. They exist as clouds of maybes until interacting with something else. And yet you feel solid. You feel whole. You feel continuous. The solidity you feel is the result of countless interactions happening every moment. Electrons repelling other electrons. Particles exchanging invisible forces. Probabilities collapsing because the world is always touching itself at the smallest scale. Motion and stillness are the same dance, just at different tempos. Particles flicker so quickly between states, between possibilities, that what emerges is stability. Not because anything is truly still, but because everything vibrates in patterns too fast to notice. You might picture this as a humming field beneath your awareness. A field where everything trembles in harmony. A field where motion creates the illusion of rest. Where uncertainty, repeated millions of times each second, becomes the illusion of certainty. The quiet around you now is not silent. It is full of gentle activity. Every atom in your body is vibrating. Every electron is shimmering in its cloud. Every proton is held together by forces stronger than you can imagine, yet softer than you can feel. The bed beneath you is not still. The air around you is not empty. Space is alive with fields and fluctuations. But your senses do not detect this. Your brain, kind as always, smooths this microscopic dance into a tranquil, stable surface, like a lake that seems still from above, though countless tiny motions swirl beneath its surface. This is the illusion that holds your world together. Not false, not misleading, simply simplified, made gentle for you. If you could see the world at the quantum scale, nothing would look like a chair, a wall, or a hand. Everything would look like shimmering clouds, meeting and partying, merging and dissolving, flickering between forms, and yet, from this vibrating blur, emerges your everyday life. This is the strange beauty of scale. The idea that something can be uncertain at one level and completely reliable at another. A single particle might be a cloud of probability, but trillions of them together create solidity. A hand that can hold, a floor that can support you, a pillow that can cradle your head. Your reality is the average of countless uncertainties. Like a melody created from thousands of tiny vibrations you never hear, yet feel as one smooth note. Feel that smoothness now. The way your body feels like a single shape, not a collection of particles. The way the air feels like a single atmosphere, not a swarm of molecules. The way the room feels whole, not built from flickering pieces. This wholeness is a blessing of scale, a kindness of nature, and yet knowing about the shimmer beneath does not disturb the calm. It deepens it, because it reminds you that everything, even the quiet you're resting in, is built from possibility, from openness, from softness, from tiny trembling motions that never quite stop. As you sink deeper into this sense of possibility, imagine the air around you once more. Imagine it filled with tiny, glowing motes. Not literal light, but symbolic, like dust in a sunbeam. They drift slowly at first, then more gently, then almost imperceptibly. Each mote represents a particle with a range of positions, a cloud of maybes. The glow around it is its wave function, spreading out, unfixed, uncollapsed. Then something touches it, another particle, a photon, a measurement, a moment, and the glow contracts. The mote chooses. Probability becomes presence. And then, almost instantly, the glow spreads out again. Because that is how nature behaves when no one insists on certainty. You can imagine your thoughts behaving in a similar way. How they drift, diffuse, shimmer between possibilities before taking form. A choice, a memory, a feeling rising out of nowhere. You are not unlike these tiny particles. Your mind holds many possibilities at once before settling on one. You might feel sleepy, or curious, or thoughtful, or calm. You might feel a mix of all of these. They coexist, shimmering like electron clouds, until one becomes most likely, most present tonight as your breath slows. The most likely state is softness, quiet, the slow drift toward rest. Let yourself fall a little into that probability. Not fully, not yet, just a small lean. A tilt toward peace. Imagine the space around your body as a gentle field of possibilities, each one fading a little as you exhale. In quantum physics, even empty space is not truly empty. It foams with tiny fluctuations. Particles blink into existence and vanish again, too fast to observe. This is called vacuum energy, the hum of nothingness. Even the emptiest corner of your room vibrates with this quiet existence. So when you sense the stillness around you now, you are sensing something deeper, something calmer, something that feels like tranquility, not because the world is empty, but because your brain smooths out the fluctuations, giving you peace instead of noise. In the deepest quiet, the universe is still humming, and in that hum you can rest. Let your next breath be slower, and your next exhale gentler. Imagine yourself like one of those shimmering clouds, not fixed, not rigid, not bound tightly to a single state, but unfolding into softer and softer rhythms. The day you lived is already dissolving, its details becoming probabilistic to fading into memory, flickering between what was certain and what is interpreted. Soon the shimmering will take on dream form. Soon the possibilities will reorganize themselves into scenes that feel as real as waking life, yet freed from gravity and clocks and expectation. But for now, linger here in the quiet shimmer beneath reality, the place where particles dance, the place where the universe whispers in vibrations too soft to hear, the place where nothing is certain, yet everything is possible, and trust, with the gentlest exhale, that perhaps the air around you holds secrets that move as quietly as sleep. And from that shimmering softness beneath certainty, the awareness that flickers, like a particle choosing its place, begins to widen, not outward with effort, but outward the way a quiet breath spreads warmth into the chest, a gentle expansion that feels natural, almost inevitable, as if your mind were remembering a space it has always known. The glow of quantum possibility settles, softens, spreads, and in that spreading, something deeper becomes clear, that the world is made not only of particles, not only of motion or energy or trembling light, but of vast, generous space. You feel this space already, even without seeing it. The space between your fingers, the space under your ribs as you breathe, the space between your body and the ceiling, all patiently held, quietly present. Let the idea linger with you, like mist resting on water in early morning. Most of what exists around you and within you is empty. Not empty as in nothing, empty as in open, empty as in spacious, empty as in the quiet that makes sound possible, and the stillness that makes movement meaningful. Take a slow inhale and imagine that breath traveling through open rooms inside your chest. Take a soft exhale and imagine that breath dissolving into the open rooms around your body. Now, imagine shrinking down again, smaller than molecules, smaller than atoms, smaller than the electrons that shimmer like possibilities. Move gently toward the heart of matter. If an atom were the size of a cathedral, its nucleus, the dense center of protons and neutrons, would be a speck of dust floating in the middle. Everything else would be open air. That means your body, though it feels solid and warm and close, is mostly space. So is the pillow beneath you. So is the air above you. So is every object you have ever touched. The solidity you feel does not come from substance touching substance. It comes from invisible forces, from fields that push against each other, from the resistance created when electron clouds overlap. Your hand does not truly touch the blanket. It comes close enough that the forces push back, and the mind interprets that push as touch, even at the atomic level. Reality is built not of solid blocks, but of relationships, the way one thing influences another, the way one field curves around another, the way empty space becomes meaningful only when something passes through it. Feel that. Space becomes presence when something moves. Space becomes shape when something rests. Space becomes meaning when something exists inside it. As you lie in your room, the quiet air around you is vast, even in its smallness. The distance between you and the nearest object, the bedside table, the window, the wall, feels simple, obvious. You may not even think about it, but that distance is a small reflection of the immense spaces that exist between stars, between galaxies, between the grains that form your reality. And yet, the space inside an atom is proportionally even greater. It holds everything together without ever needing to be full. Let your breath fall into an easy rhythm, the kind that lets your body loosen deeper into rest. Imagine that every inhale moves through spaciousness, not tightness. Imagine every exhale releasing a little more room inside you. The universe is not crowded, it is open, it is patient. It leaves room for things to be exactly what they are. In the quiet of your room, this spaciousness becomes easier to feel. Your mind begins to sense not only the boundaries of your body, but the gentle openness that surrounds it. It is as though the walls of the room take one small step back, revealing a little more breathing space for your thoughts. Inside an atom, the emptiness is not absence. It is the framework that allows electrons to dance, binding them to the nucleus with a force we call electromagnetism. This force is invisible. You never feel its true complexity, but it shapes your world from beneath every gesture and every breath. Without this emptiness, electrons would have nowhere to move. Without their movement, atoms would collapse. Without atoms, there would be no molecules. Without molecules, there would be no cells. Without cells, there would be no you. So emptiness is not a void but a cradle, a place where form can take shape, where possibility can unfold, where matter can become the world you live in as you feel the gentle support of the bed beneath you. Imagine the microscopic distance between the atoms of your body and the atoms of the sheets. They are not touching. They are suspended near one another like dancers maintaining a perfect, effortless balance. At this scale, touch is a conversation between forces, not a collision between solids. This conversation is happening everywhere at once, in the objects around you, in the cells of your skin, in the air drifting near your mouth, in the stars that shine billions of miles away. Everything is held in place by invisible threads stretched across emptiness. You are resting in those threads now. You always have been. Let your shoulders soften deeper, as if gravity itself had sighed. Let your hands rest heavier, as though the mattress were gently pulling them into a deeper layer of comfort. Let the space inside your mind widen, even by a fraction. Think now of the space between planets, the vast dark between Earth and the Moon, between Earth and the Sun, between stars that appear close in the night sky but are separated by unimaginable distance. Those expanses are full of emptiness, yet they are never meaningless. The sun's light moves across them. Gravity shapes them. Radiation drifts through them. Time unfolds across them. Space holds things the way a calm ocean holds drifting boats, not touching, not grasping, but supporting, surrounding, allowing. This same pattern exists inside you, repeated across scales, from molecules up to galaxies. Emptiness carries everything, and in your life, too, space carries meaning. The space between thoughts, the pause between breaths, the quiet gap between one moment of the day and the next. These intervals shape your experience as much as the moments themselves. Consider how silence shapes music. Without silence, sound has no contour. Without space, there could be no rhythm, no rest, no release. The universe, too, is structured by its rests, the pauses, the distances, the openness that lets matter move and light travel and life unfold. In the soft dark around you, the space is doing the same for you. It is giving your mind room to unravel, giving your senses room to fade, giving your body room to settle. This spaciousness reaches inward. Inside your mind, there are also gaps, places where thought does not fully form, where impressions linger, where meaning begins before it becomes clear. Memories float in these internal spaces, glowing gently like lanterns suspended in air. Some drift near the surface. Others remain deeper, resting in quieter chambers. As your awareness softens, these inner spaces widen like dim hallways lit by distant light. You do not need to walk through them. You only need to feel the openness. The same openness exists between emotions, between sensations, between breaths. Let your attention rest on that idea, that you are not only shaped by what is present, but by what is absent, that you are not only held by matter, but by space, by softness, by what seems like nothing, but is actually something incredibly patient and kind. The spaces inside you, the ones between your thoughts, between your breaths, are safe. They have always been safe. They are the quiet rooms where the mind can exhale, where pressure dissolves, where you become lighter. You can imagine them now as dim, open chambers filled with a gentle, translucent glow, not bright, not sharp, just soft enough to feel like warmth without heat, presence without weight. In these chambers, everything slows. Noise fades. Edges lose urgency. Even the idea of you becomes less rigid and more fluid, like stars suspended in the vastness of space. Your thoughts drift apart, not lost, just softened. They are held in a kind of gentle equilibrium. Nothing pushes, nothing pulls. The more you feel this spaciousness, the more natural it becomes to soften into it, to let go, to allow your awareness to float the way a leaf floats on a still pond. And from this openness, a realization begins to settle that emptiness is not a flaw in reality. It is a quiet generosity, a kindness built into the structure of the universe. Without this emptiness, nothing could move, nothing could connect, nothing could change. You are held by that kindness every moment of your life. Even now, as sleep slowly approaches, carried in the quiet space between your thoughts, let your breath be slow. Let your limbs grow warm and heavy. Let your mind fall gently into the wide, patient emptiness that cradles the world the way night cradles sleep. And from that wide, patient emptiness, that soft cradle where the world rests without hurry, another layer begins to unfold, almost like the slow turning of a distant tide. Not a new idea arriving, but a shift in the air around the one you are already holding. The spaciousness that surrounds every particle, every atom, every drifting thought, begins to stretch in a different direction now. Not outward, but forward. Forward into something we often mistake for a straight line. Time, you feel it already in the simple rhythm of your breath. The way one inhale follows another. The way each exhale leans softly into the next moment. The way your body unspools the day behind you, letting each memory fade like footprints smoothing under evening waves. Time has always moved around you, through you, with you. But the way you experience it is gentler than you realize, more fluid, more personal, more dreamlike, not because the clock changes, but because your awareness does. Let your attention drift to the feeling of weight in your limbs. That heaviness is time changing shape. Let your awareness soften in your hands, your arms, your chest. That softness is time loosening its grip. Let your breath fall into long, unhurried waves. That lengthening is time stretching gently around you. Even before science named it, you have always known this feeling, the way time thickens in quiet moments, the way it rushes in excitement, the way it pauses in grief, the way it dissolves in sleep. Time is not rigid. It never was. Your mind bends it every day, but the universe bends it to imagine, just for a moment, that you are standing at the base of a great mountain. The rock is old, ancient, older than any story your species has ever written. If you placed a clock at your feet and another clock high above you, near the cliff's edge, the two clocks would disagree. This is not a metaphor. It is a truth of relativity. Time moves more slowly, in stronger gravity. A clock beneath the mountain ticks more slowly than a clock above it. The difference is tiny, far too small to feel, yet real. Measured, proven. Even time, the one thing we treat as constant, is shaped by the weight of the world. Let your breath deepen. Imagine gravity as a gentle hand pressing lightly on the moments around you, slowing them the way a warm palm slows a beating heart. If you traveled fast enough, fast as light allows, time would stretch for you even more. Seconds for you could be hours for the rest of the world. Years for others could be moments for you. Time is flexible, like soft fabric. You have never lived outside its folds, but you are always touching them, here. In the quiet of your room, in the quiet of your body, you can feel a more intimate version of that bending. The way a peaceful moment lasts longer. The way your thoughts feel slower. The way the edges of the day dissolve into something formless. As if time were a lake and you were drifting deeper into the stillest part. Your nervous system knows this shift. As sleep approaches, the brain's rhythms slow. Patterns that once flashed quickly begin to lengthen. Neurons fire in steadier, wider waves. You move from beta waves, the patterns of alertness, to alpha, then theta, the slow, rolling shapes of drifting consciousness. You are not there yet, but you are close. You can feel it in the softness behind your eyes, in the way memories lose their sharpness, in the way breath becomes your only anchor. Time becomes less of a line and more of a tide, flowing in, flowing out, carrying you gently. Imagine a river winding through a quiet valley. Its surface looks smooth, but beneath, currents shift with the contours of the riverbed. The water slows in wider places, rushes in narrow ones, whirls in small spirals around rocks that have not moved for centuries. Time works this way too. It curves around gravity. It stretches with velocity. It bends in the presence of massive stars. It pools in the spaces between your breaths. You live in these gentle bends every day, but you feel them most clearly at night. When the mind is not forced to keep step with the pace of the world, as you rest here still, warm, breathing slowly, your inner clock is already beginning to drift. The seconds between thoughts grow wider. Your awareness moves with less urgency. Moments stretch like silk pulled smoothly between the hands. Time may not stop, but your experience of it becomes quieter, like a whisper instead of a ticking. Picture the shadows around you. They shift slowly, almost imperceptibly, as your body warms the air and the air cools the room. This subtle movement is time continuing its soft motion. Picture the air itself, the molecules drifting, colliding, settling. Each tiny motion takes time, yet at this scale, time feels weightless, as if everything is happening all at once. Picture your heartbeat, steady, slower now than it was an hour ago. Each beat marking a small moment, each moment blending gently into the next at this slower rhythm. Time becomes something you can relax into, like lying back into the surface of a calm lake. Let yourself imagine floating there, your body supported, your breath spreading ripples across the surface, each ripple expanding outward, slowing as it travels, until it becomes indistinguishable from the stillness of the larger water. This is how your consciousness moves now, sending gentle ripples, slowing with each wave, merging, eventually, into a calm so deep it feels like eternity. You may notice that as your thoughts slow, your sense of before and after becomes less strict. Memories drift into the present. Hopes drift into the present. Everything begins to feel like one continuous moment without sharp edges or clear borders. This happens because your brain is releasing its daytime grip. It no longer needs to track seconds or structure or urgency. It simply allows experience to flow, and when time flows, rather than ticks, awareness softens. You can feel this right now, in the space between each inhale and the next, in the pause before an exhale begins. These gaps widen, not because the clock slows, but because you do. These gaps are where rest begins, where thoughts become lighter, where the world becomes quieter, where the illusion of time as a rigid, unforgiving line begins to dissolve. What replaces it is something kinder, something closer to truth, something like a slow river curving through open fields at dusk. Allow yourself to drift into that curve. No effort, no direction, just the soft awareness that you are floating. Your body continues its subtle rhythms. Your breath continues its gentle cycles. Your mind continues its quiet unwinding. And time, the time inside you, continues to slow its steps. As if walking barefoot across a field of soft grass, each footfall lighter, each moment longer, each second wider than the one before. You are entering the stretch of night where minutes feel like tides and thoughts feel like leaves drifting on water, and the distance between waking and dreaming narrows until it becomes a single, shimmering thread. Let that thread hold you. Let it guide you. Let it draw you gently forward, deeper into quiet, deeper into ease, deeper into the soft motion of moments that no longer need to be measured. And feel, with your next slow exhale, the quiet footfall of time itself, patient, unhurried, resting gently in the dimness. And from that dim, unhurried footfall of time, something warm begins to rise, not upward, but inward, like a small light awakening in the soft chambers of your mind. It glows quietly at first, like a lantern being lifted behind a curtain. Its warmth does not brighten the room around you. Instead, it fills the inner space where thoughts drift like slow clouds. This is the realm of memory. Not the sharp kind that leaps forward when you need it, but the gentle kind that sits like dusted amber inside the mind. The kind that softens with time. The kind that glows rather than speaks. Let yourself drift toward that glow. You do not need to search for a memory. You do not need to recall anything specific. Just imagine the feeling of remembering that tender pull in the chest, that warmth behind the eyes, that slight softening in the breath when something familiar surfaces. Memories do not live in a single place. They are woven across the brain like thousands of tiny threads, scattered through the hippocampus, the cortex, the deep neural paths shaped by your life. A face, a moment. Your brain brings together pieces stored in many different places. A sound here, a color there, a gesture in one corner, an emotion in another. And as these pieces gather, your mind paints them into a single experience. Memory is not a recording, it is a recreation, a quiet rebuilding of something that once happened, a reconstruction, softened by time, guided by feeling, colored by everything you have lived since. This is why each memory feels alive, why it changes subtly when you revisit it, why it gains warmth or loses sharpness depending on who you've become. Each time the memory returns, the brain rewrites it, not in deceit, but in adaptation, in compassion, in continuity. Let your awareness drift into that truth, the way a leaf drifts toward the center of a still pond. Memory is not fixed. It is fluid. It is the soft lantern the mind carries into the dark to make sense of where it has been. You can imagine these memories as lanterns glowing behind your closed eyes. Some bright, some dim, some flickering with the faint colors of childhood, some glowing with richer tones from more recent days. They hang in the quiet, suspended in the spaciousness you explored just moments ago. They do not press against you. They do not demand anything. They simply glow. Each lantern holds not just images, but textures, sensations, the warmth or coolness of a moment, the softness or sharpness of someone's voice. Your brain stores these sensory traces, interwoven with emotion. When they rise, you don't just remember, you relive. You feel the echo. That echo is the heart of memory, a vibration in your inner world, a small pulse that says, I have been here. I have felt this. This is part of me. Let yourself float toward one of those lanterns now, not to examine it, but to feel the gentle light. Imagine it warming your mind the way a candle warms a dark room. No edges, no urgency. Just glow. Perhaps the lantern flickers with an old laugh. Perhaps with the shape of a place you once walked. Perhaps with a moment of stillness that meant something to you. But you do not need to know. You only need to feel the warmth. Memories are companions, quiet ones, walking beside you, even when they seem forgotten. They shape the reality you experience now, coloring how you see, how you interpret, how you understand. Recall how earlier we drifted through the painted world of perception. Now you can see how memory acts as one of the pigments in that painting. It fills the blind spots, guides recognition, softens fear, brightens comfort. Even this moment, lying here, breathing slowly, feeling yourself sink deeper into rest, will become a memory shaped less by facts and more by subtly layered sensations. The warmth of the blanket, the softness of the pillow, the rhythm of your breath, the sense of easing. Your brain will not store the exact words you hear. It will store the feeling. The way this moment allowed you to soften. The way these thoughts drifted like gentle tides. The way your awareness began to dissolve into something slow and luminous. Memory touches identity in the same gentle way. You are not a fixed shape. You are the pattern that emerges from the memories you carry, from the meanings you've found, from the ways you've been shaped and reshaped again. If you imagined yourself without any memories, you would still exist, still breathe, but you would be like a blank canvas waiting for the first colors to fall. Your memories are those colors, not sharp strokes, but soft washes, not rigid outlines, but fluid tones. Each one adds depth, warmth, texture, a sense of place within your own life. And just like the spaces between atoms, the spaces between memories are important too. The breaks, the quiet gaps, the moments you cannot fully recall. Those places make room for rest, for new experiences, for healing, for forgetting what no longer needs to be held tightly. Your mind is wiser than you know. It chooses what to keep bright and what to fade, what to cherish and what to soften into dusk. Even painful memories change, not erased, but made manageable by the gentle erosion of time. Their lanterns dim, not out of neglect, but out of the mind's quiet mercy. Let yourself imagine a corridor lined with these lanterns. Their light is warm, never harsh. Their glow is steady, never demanding. They illuminate parts of you without blinding you to the present. As you walk through this corridor in your imagination, you may feel yourself slow down, step by gentle step. These lanterns do not rush you. They invite you to rest. You do not need to open any of them. You do not need to revisit anything. Their presence is enough. They show you that your experience of reality is layered with everything you've lived and everything you've loved and everything you've survived, and they show you something else as well, that memory, like matter, is mostly space, space for change, space for softness, space for forgetting, space for becoming someone more peaceful than you were yesterday. Take a slow breath and imagine those lanterns dimming even further, their glow sinking into deeper shades of gold and amber, their warmth spreading through the quiet inside your ribs. With each exhale, their light grows softer. With each inhale, you drift deeper into the calm between them. Soon, you will begin to float past memory altogether, into a place where images melt and thoughts dissolve and the lanterns become distant, fireflies fading into night. But for this moment, let the glow linger, the faint illumination of all you are and all you have been, flickering gently in a place where thought yields to sensation and sensation yields to quiet and feel. With the softest breath, a lantern dimming into warm dusk, its light flickering tenderly in the gentle dark, guiding you toward deeper stillness. And from that warm dusk where the lanterns rest in gentle rows, something even softer begins to rise. Not a memory, not a thought, but a feeling without shape. A feeling that moves the way mist moves over quiet water, spreading without edges, touching everything and holding nothing too tightly. You can sense the shift not as a new idea, but as a loosening, a subtle untying of the mind's knots. The glow of memory dims behind you, warm and steady, but no longer close. It becomes a distant warmth, like the last trace of sunset slipping beneath the horizon. Now the mind begins to enter the space just before dreaming, the place where form dissolves, where images lose their borders, where the world becomes watercolor. Let your breath guide you there, a slow inhale, a softer exhale, each breath blurring the outlines of your thoughts a little more. This is the threshold of hypnagogia, the gentle state between waking and sleep, a real, measurable moment in the brain where waves slow, where logic releases its grip, where imagination lifts quietly from its anchor. You may feel it as a floating sensation, or a sinking one, or a widening of the space behind your eyes, or simply a warm heaviness spreading through your arms and legs. Whatever shape it takes, it is natural. It is the mind knowing how to soften. All day, the mind holds form. It sees edges, names, objects, categorizes, constrains, creates the illusion of a stable world. But here, at night, the brain begins to release that structure. It stops insisting that shapes are fixed. It stops clinging to outlines. It stops forcing experience into boxes. Instead, it lets images drift. Shapes melt into color. Color melts into feeling. Feeling melts into silence. Let yourself drift with it. Imagine the edges of your body blurring, not disappearing, but softening, as though your skin is not a boundary, but a gentle transition, as though the air touching you is part of you, warm and still. The blankets resting on you begin to feel like an extension of your weight. Your breath feels less like movement and more like a tide. Your thoughts begin to spread outward, merging with what surrounds them. Hypnagogia often brings flashes of imagery, shapes that flicker, patterns that twist, colors that breathe like small creatures. These are normal. They are the first strokes of the dream painter lifting its brush. If any images arise, let them drift. Do not hold them. Do not interpret them. Let them form, shift, fade, like clouds forming faces that disappear before you can name them. This drifting is the mind's lullaby. The dissolving of form is the brain preparing to dream. During this transition, the senses begin to quiet their grip. Sounds feel softer. The room feels farther away. Time feels less like a line and more like a pool you are sinking into. Your muscles loosen. Your heartbeat steady. The warmth in your chest spreads like honey. Your thoughts stretch like shadows at dusk. You do not need to force anything. This boundary between waking and dreaming welcomes you without requirement. Imagine that the world around you is made of soft sand. Earlier, it had edges, dunes, footprints, gentle ridges carved by wind. But a slow tide is coming in now. The tide smooths the edges, fills the gaps, blends one shape into another until the sand becomes a single flowing surface. Your mind is that sand. Hypnagogia is that tide. Every exhale draws the water higher. Every inhale lifts you slightly, just enough to feel the movement merging with your own. If you listen closely, the air around you carries a hush, a softened sound like distant surf. Even though no waves are present, your mind creates the sensation, drawing from memory, from rhythm, from instinct. This blending of outer quiet and inner imagery is what makes the threshold so dreamlike. In this state, new connections form easily. Thoughts weave together. Memories touch imagination. Sensation blends with idea. You may feel like you are floating through a gentle current, carried by something you cannot see. You may feel your awareness expanding and contracting, like a pulse made of light. You may feel as though the room itself has breath. This is the brain's shift from waking networks to dreaming networks. The prefrontal cortex, the center of logic, begins to dim. The visual and emotional regions grow brighter. Activity moves from analysis to imagery, from structure to flow, from solid to liquid. You are crossing from the land of edges to the sea of form without form. Let the crossing be gentle. Picture the blanket on your body not as fabric, but as a warm current flowing across your skin. Picture the pillow beneath your head not as a shape, but as a soft field where your thoughts drift like drifting seeds. Picture your breath as soft waves, brushing the shore of your consciousness, each one smoothing the sand a little more. If a thought arises, a memory, a worry, a phrase, let it dissolve. Imagine it as ink dropped into warm water. The edges blur. The shape loosens. The color spreads until it becomes part of the whole. Nothing in this moment needs to remain rigid. Not the day you lived. Not the expectations you carried. Not the roles you moved through. All of it can soften. All of it can fade into watercolor. This is the grace of the hypnagogic state. the allowance to be undefined. When you let yourself drift beyond form, you become lighter. You become quieter. You become more yourself than the busy hours ever allow. Thoughts that once felt heavy become weightless. Emotions become softer. Even your awareness of your own body becomes a gentle glow rather than a boundary. The mind begins to dream. Even before sleep fully arrives, shapes form without logic. Scenes flicker without narrative. Colors breathe without purpose. This is not confusion. It is freedom. The freedom to release the structure of waking life and slip into the fluid world of dreams. Feel your limbs grow heavier, as if sinking into warm, slow-moving water. Feel your thoughts grow quieter, as though someone has dimmed the internal lights. Feel the space around you thicken, becoming a soft fog that supports you. You are drifting, and drifting is natural. Drifting is safe. Drifting is the mind's way of saying it is ready to rest in this softened state. The boundary between you and the world becomes thin, but not in a frightening way, in a comforting one. You are not losing yourself. You are dissolving the day. You are letting yourself be carried. Let the shapes inside your mind blend. Let the colors fade into one another. Let thoughts become sensations. Let sensations become warmth. You are entering the realm where the mind no longer insists on answers, where the world no longer needs to be interpreted, where reality becomes a gentle, shifting field. The last traces of form begin to slip away, like a shoreline dissolving into the night tide. And in that dissolving, you become lighter than air, quieter than breath, resting on the hush of motion that carries you softly toward sleep. And from that hush of motion, from that watercolor drift where shapes loosen and thoughts move like slow tides, a deeper quiet begins to gather. Not a silence that excludes sound, but a silence that includes everything: the breath, the body, the darkness, the soft hum beneath existence. A quiet that feels less like absence and more like a gentle presence surrounding you. It settles around you as naturally as darkness settles around a candle flame. It warms without heat. It comforts without words. It holds you without weight. You are drifting now, not toward sleep, but into the soft gravity that makes sleep possible, the feeling of being supported by something larger than your thoughts, larger than your body, larger than the room itself. This is the quiet that holds all worlds. Let a slow inhale meet you. Let a softer exhale spread through your chest. Feel how your breath aligns with this deeper stillness, each movement small and tender, each pause gentle and wide. Even though your senses are fading, a subtle awareness remains, a sense of being carried, as if the air beneath you has grown thick enough to cradle you. Imagine for a moment that you could see this quiet, not with your eyes, but with the part of you that feels before it thinks. You might see it as a dim glow, like the warmth behind closed eyelids, or as a soft mist resting just above your skin, or as a vast, dark ocean with no waves, still, boundless, safe. This quiet is not emptiness. It is the oldest echo in the universe, the faint whisper left over from the beginning of time. Scientists call it the cosmic microwave background, the lingering warmth from the universe's first light, still drifting through every inch of space, touching every atom, every star, every breath. You are wrapped in that whisper right now. The very air around you carries its faint warmth, a gentle residue of creation, a soft hum of birth that never went away. It is not something you have to believe in. It is simply there, the way gravity is there, the way night is there, the way breath is there. Imagine it as a barely perceptible glow, not bright, not sharp, but delicate, a warmth that has traveled billions of years only to brush lightly against your skin in this quiet moment. This hum, this ancient glow, connects you to everything. Two galaxies you've never seen, two stars long vanished, two worlds forming in distant dust, to the atoms in your own body that were forged in stellar furnaces before the Earth even existed. You are resting inside a universe that has been dreaming for a very long time. Let that thought soften you. Let it widen you. Let it ease you into the final layers of quiet, the noise of the day, the motion of thought, the edges of waking reality. All of it fades in the presence of this ancient calm. You are no longer just lying in a room. You are lying in the cradle of space itself. The same stillness that holds entire galaxies now holds you. Feel how your breath moves differently now. Slow, slow, almost suspended. As if the air has grown thick enough to catch each exhale and hold it for a moment before letting it drift away. Feel how your body no longer presses into the mattress. Instead, the mattress seems to rise gently to meet you. The boundary dissolves. Support becomes effortless. Gravity becomes softer. You become the quiet. Thoughts that once flickered now move like dim lanterns drifting down a river at night, slow, spaced apart, their glow reflected on dark water. Their movement guided by currents deeper than intention. Your mind is not thinking now. It is floating, floating in the space between thoughts, floating in the darkness where dreams form, floating in the same quiet that fills the distance between galaxies. This near dream state is not a void. It is fullness without noise, presence without shape, awareness without definition. The boundaries you once held between self and world, between breath and silence, between now and then, begin to fade. You feel the tension leave your shoulders, then your jaw, then the muscles around your eyes, then the small tightness beneath your ribs. Everything is letting go. Everything is dissolving into the same soft hum that fills the room. If you listen with the inner part of your awareness, the part that hears without ears, you might sense a faint vibration, like a low, distant tone that never ends. Not a sound, but a feeling of continuity, as if the universe itself is breathing in slow, patient spirals. You are breathing with it. Inhale, the universe expands. Exhale, the universe rests. Your breath becomes part of this cosmic rhythm, your body part of this ancient quiet. Imagine this quiet spreading through your entire being, filling your hands with stillness, filling your chest with warmth, filling your mind with the color of night. Thoughts, their presence softer, their voices dimmer. They rise and fade like small waves on a deep sea. Nothing asks for your attention. Nothing requires action. Nothing needs to be solved. In this quiet, every version of you is welcome. The tired one, the hopeful one, the dreaming one. They all rest together, held by the same gentle dark. This is the moment just before dreams begin. Not waking, not sleeping. A place between worlds where reality loosens and imagination spreads its wings without lifting them. Let yourself remain here. Float here. Sink here. There is no wrong way to rest in this quiet. The edges of the world have softened. Your awareness has widened. Your breath has slowed to match the rhythm of something older than time. And in this widening, this slowing, this softening, feel the truth that this quiet is not empty. It is full of everything. Every star, every memory, every breath, every drifting thought. You are part of that fullness. You are held by it without boundary, without pressure, without expectation. Let the image come to you effortlessly, a faint glow like starlight filtered through distant fog, holding every world, every moment, every possibility, and feel yourself resting inside that glow. A dream cradled by the vastness that gave rise to all things, a quiet that holds all worlds gently, the way a hand supports a drifting dream, and from that faint glow, the quiet that holds every drifting world. Every softened breath, a deeper stillness begins to unfurl, like a final veil lowering over the day. It does not fall quickly. It drapes, slowly, softly, the way night settles over a field after the last light has slipped beyond the hills. This is the place where reality, as you know it, begins to loosen its final threads, not with force, not with abruptness, but with the gentlest release, as if the world itself were exhaling just for you. Your body has already begun to shift. The weight in your limbs is heavier now, not from burden, but from peace. Your breath moves in long, quiet arcs. Your thoughts float like distant echoes, slow enough to watch, but soft enough to let go. Here, the edge between waking and dreaming becomes so thin that the mind no longer notices which side it stands on. It simply drifts. Let yourself feel the drift. It is natural. It is safe. It is the soft current that carries every living mind into the realm of sleep. Imagine the air around you thickening, not with heaviness, but with a warm, velvety calm, as if the molecules themselves, those quiet travelers moving through space, have slowed their dance to match the rhythm of your breath. In this slow-motion world, sound becomes rounder, dimmer, hushed. Even your thoughts seem wrapped in cotton, their edges blunted, their voices softened. The body responds to this hush. Your muscles release, first in your hands, then in your shoulders, then down the long length of your spine, as if someone were smoothing warm water across you. Neural rhythms shift to the fast, bright waves of waking thought giving way to slower, rolling patterns. Small hills of activity rising and falling in steady intervals. Your mind is preparing for dreams in the same way the sea prepares for tide. A slow gathering, a gentle pull, and with each breath, the world you were holding all day, the tasks, the voices, the motions, the expectations releases you. They fade in layers, like distant landscapes dissolving in evening fog. You do not have to push them away. The mind lets go on its own when given softness, when given stillness, when given the gentle permission to rest. Let that permission fill you now, not as a command, but as an invitation, a quiet welcome into the dim spaces of your own awareness. Inside you, small sparks of thought flicker less often. When they arrive, they drift instead of cling. They open like tiny petals, then fold back into the dark. You may notice how the body feels slightly weightless and slightly heavier at the same time. This is the natural shift toward sleep, the nervous system dimming, the inner gravity changing, the sense of self loosening its borders. Reality becomes soft here. Not lost, just softened. If you imagine the room around you now, its shapes have already blurred. The corners feel rounder. The walls feel farther away. The ceiling fades into the background hum. You are not quite dreaming, but you are no longer fully awake. You are drifting along the quiet seam between worlds, where imagination seeps into reality like watercolor bleeding into warm paper. In this seam, your awareness begins to let go of detail, focusing instead on sensation, the weight of your body, the rhythm of your breath, the low hum beneath your thoughts. These sensations form a cocoon, a cradle for your mind to rest in. Let yourself sink deeper into that cradle. Let your breath slow just a little more. Let your awareness become a soft glow, not a spotlight. Even sound, if any reaches you, becomes a distant murmur, a muffled hum, a gentle reminder that the world continues its motions without needing you to hold it. Your nervous system, so busy during the day, has entered a state of surrender. The sympathetic activation, the alertness, the readiness fades like a dimming ember, and the parasympathetic calm, the tender system of rest, rises like a tide, cool and steady, washing over you in waves of ease. This shift changes the body. It slows the heart. It warms the extremities. It bathes the brain in quiet chemicals that whisper, not yet sleep, but soon. You are drifting through that whisper now. Picture yourself standing on a shoreline at night. The sand is cool beneath your feet. The waves are gentle, their foam glowing softly under a moon you cannot see. Every wave that reaches you touches your ankles lightly, then recedes, pulling a little tension away with it, again and again and again. This is how your mind is releasing the day in soft, recurring waves. You do nothing. The tide moves for you. As the shoreline stretches into darkness, your awareness stretches with it. Reaching toward sleep without stepping away from comfort, you feel the world dimming inside you, not disappearing, but transforming, becoming simpler, quieter, like a drawing with its lines erased one by one until only the soft shading remains. Soon, even that shading will melt into dream. Let the melting begin. Let the edges blur. Let the colors fade. Let the thoughts thin until they are only breath. You are nearing the depth where consciousness loosens its last threads, where the mind becomes a drifting field and awareness floats without anchor. You may feel brief fragments of imagery, like the shadows we saw earlier, a face, a room, a brief landscape. They appear, glide softly through you, and dissolve. These fragments are the first notes of dreaming, arriving before the melody. You do not need to guide them. They know where to go. Your breath now is slow, slow, as if matching an invisible rhythm deeper than thought. Your body is quiet. Your mind is hushed. You are drifting along the last curve of the waking world, toward a place where gravity feels lighter and time feels round. Here, words grow softer, meaning grows simpler. Experience becomes sensation. Sensation becomes warmth. Warmth becomes rest. And with your next long exhale, feel yourself floating into that rest, where reality, gentle, patient, fades into the warmth of a settling dream. And from that settling dream, from that last gentle breath where thought thins into warmth, a soft glow rises, faint at first, like the memory of a candle long after the wick has dimmed. It meets you where you are, in the quiet cradle of your drifting awareness, and expands around you with unhurried grace. Nothing new begins here. Nothing sharp enters. This final space isn't a place of learning, but a place of soft remembering, a remembering of calm, a remembering of belonging, a remembering of the hum that carried you from the very first moment of this journey, the hum that touched the air when you settled into stillness, the hum that moved beneath each word, the hum that waited patiently behind every pause, and now the hum that rests inside your breath, soft as night wind, steady as a heartbeat in the dark. If you listen gently, not with ears, but with the quiet part of you that senses warmth and safety, you may feel it, a low, velvety vibration, like the faint warmth of the universe, leaning close. It is the same warmth that lingered in the beginning, when light drifted across the dim wall of your imagination and the edges of reality began to blur. It is the same softness that whispered beneath the talk of atoms and echoes, particles and space, time and memory. You are wrapped in it now, fully, deeply, as though the air itself has grown tender with age. Let that tenderness surround you. Let it flow along your skin the way moonlight flows along a quiet river. Let it fill the spaces beneath your ribs and soften the places in you that remain awake. Your breath moves slowly now, a gentle rise, a gentle fall, barely a motion at all. It is the kind of breath the body takes only when it knows it is safe, and you are safe, held, supported, and softened by the very quiet that shaped the stars. If you imagine the world around you now, it no longer forms crisp edges. It melts into a single field of dusk, warm and expansive, spreading out from your center like ripples in still water. The blanket around you feels heavier yet kinder. The air feels warmer. The room feels larger, as though the walls have drifted away and left only open sky. Your mind floats through this gentle expanse without effort, without destination. Thoughts move like drifting lanterns, soft lights carried by slow wind, each one glowing a moment, then fading into dusk. You don't need to follow them. You don't need to name them. You don't need to hold anything anymore. Everything has softened enough. Your body knows the path to rest. Your mind knows the shape of dream. All you have to do is breathe and let the quiet deepen in this depth. Every feeling becomes simpler, a warmth here, a looseness there, a settling through the chest, the way dust settles through a sunbeam. You are exactly where you need to be. Even the universe feels slower now, as if the spin of galaxies has lightened, as if time itself has leaned back, unwinding, evening out its long, ancient breath, and in this slow, cosmic exhale, you feel a softness inside you, mirroring the softness around you. Reality, that vast, shimmering illusion we explored, has receded, not vanished, just grown gentle enough to hold without weight. You do not need concepts now. You do not need science or story. You do not need images or answers. Only breath, only warmth, only this slow, quiet falling toward sleep. Let yourself fall. Feel how the air beneath you thickens, as though holding you aloft in a cradle made of shadow and starlight. Feel how the temperature shifts, warming slightly at your center, cooling at the edges, balancing your entire being in perfect stillness. Your awareness dims like a candle sheltered by cupped hands. not blown out, just sheltered, protected, given permission to rest. If a dream chooses to come, it will come like a tide approaching in silence, soft around the edges, familiar in its rhythm. And if sleep has already found you, it holds you deeper now, lower now, farther inside its warm, seamless, dark. For in this last moment, before thought dissolves completely, the world grows impossibly gentle, a softness that feels like light melted into air. Remember the very first image you felt tonight, that quiet room, that drifting light, that subtle blur at the edge of perception. Now it returns, transformed, quieter, closer. The light no longer rests on the wall around you. It rests inside you. It glows behind your ribs, calm as night. Everything that once felt separate, the room, the breath, the thought, the universe has softened into one warm field of rest, and you drift in the center of it, weightless, peaceful, held. The stars breathe above you. You breathe with them, and everything for now is soft and quiet and light.